What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Grand Scheme. This is Grand Kahonu here. Today I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can get the most out of Rogue's replicatability. Now, this is a champion that's received a lot of praise and also a lot of criticism. For example, I remember after the 12.0 update, people were kind of scrambling to try to find a replacement for Scarlet Witch. Rogue was mentioned quite a bit as a possibility there, at least among my own friends and teammates within MCOC. I saw people mention her on Reddit and in the forums, and primarily this was because of her ability to regenerate on her first special and her ability to power drain on her second special. But Rogue's replicatability really has the potential to put her in a whole new level. Although she's good without taking that into account, I think she becomes an excellent character if you can get her replicate to work in your favor. Unfortunately, this is the area where she's received a lot of criticism, and some of that criticism has been justified. So, for example, for a long time, when Rogue replicated a regeneration buff, the buff would show up on the screen, but she would not actually regenerate. This has been fixed recently. But there appears to be a similar problem going on with the power gain. When she replicates a power gain buff, she does not appear to be benefiting in any way from that. And so these are justified criticisms because she's not functioning as she is described. However, the most frequent criticism that I see about Rogue has to do more with the length of her replicate. And so the argument goes something like this, that Rogue replicates a buff, and before you can put it to use, it expires, and therefore it's no good, and so we need to extend the timer of the buffs that she replicates. Now, I don't think that this is justified at all, because her ability description very clearly says that she replicates these buffs, and they stay active as long as Rogue keeps touching the opponent, after which all buffs on her will be nullified. So when it says as long as she keeps touching the opponent, that is exactly what it means. You have to be touching them. You have to be attacking them. Now, they can be blocking, but you still need to be touching them. And so if you are a person or a player who plays very defensively, if you spend your time baiting special attacks, if you miss parries and you end up blocking combos, all of those scenarios are going to lead to you not touching your opponent and therefore losing your buffs. However, if you can play aggressively, if you play with a little strategy and intentionality with Rogue, then you have the potential to maintain the buffs that you replicate for a very long time. Like this. Check it out. Well, there you have it. We replicated Superior Iron Man's Armor Up buff at hit number 26, and we lost it after hit number 73. That's a 48 hit streak with Armor Up active, and in the process we also replicated his Arc Overload. These 48 hits translated into 49 seconds of gameplay. Now, to me, that seems like a pretty long time. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any other champ other than those who proc permanent buffs like Black Bolt who can have a buff active for this long. And so the argument that Rogue's replicate ability does not last long enough is simply not justified. What it tells me, however, is that this really is an issue of strategy or skill, knowing how to use her replicate and how to use Rogue as a champion in general. So a few things. Number one, make sure that you are playing aggressively. As I said before, you have got to be in control of the pace of the fight. You cannot let your opponent be in control or you will lose your buffs. One of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you are parrying. And so after you finish your combo, you have to get the parry and you have to be able to begin another combo. If you miss a parry and you end up blocking, as I've already mentioned, you're going to lose your timer and your buffs. The third point is do not bait specials. Now this one's a little tricky because we are often in the habit of spending time baiting out specials once they get to 1 or 2 bars of power. But you can't do that if you want to maintain the buffs active on Rogue. And so what I did in this video and what I encourage you to do is to, when you get to about 1.5 bars of power on your opponent, hit them one time and then parry. And then hit them one time and then parry. After several times of doing that, usually the opponent will use their special attack instead of just coming out and attacking you, which you can evade and then begin a combo again by countering after the evade. Now, sometimes this does not work, I will admit that, and so there will come times that you will have to bait out a special and you'll lose the buffs, as we did at hit number 73 here. But generally this is a pretty reliable method of getting them to use special attacks. Point number 4, hit them while they're blocking. Again, you don't need to use a 3, 4, 5 hit combo while they're blocking. Hit them one time, and then when they respond, you can parry, or if it's a special attack, you can evade. This is an especially good tactic because many times you are going to face opponents who like to play very defensively, and they're going to back away and they're going to put their block up. And if you simply wait for them to drop their defenses, then your timer is going to expire. So if they do that, simply go up and hit them while they're blocking, and then either parry an attack or evade a special and attack. Now, one thing I do need to mention here is that Superior Iron Man special attacks are very fast. And so you can use your first special, replicate a buff, he can use his special, you can evade and counter and get back to him before the timer expires. Some champions, though, have longer special attacks. And if you use your first special to replicate a buff, while they have a bar of power or 2, usually they will respond to your special attack with their own special attack. And since you have knocked them down with your special attack, they're recovering from that, and then using a special adds a fraction of a second to the timer there, to the time it takes to evade and counter, thereby making you lose your buff. And so if you're fighting an opponent, for example, like X23, who I will show you here momentarily, what you want to do is time your first special. What I do with X23 and others like her is to push her to her first bar of power, evade that first special out, and then counter with my own special attack, thereby replicating her regeneration and maintaining it from there. Now, I've got 2 videos that I want to show you here. The first one is an example fighting X23 with bad timing, and you'll see what I mean by losing the replication before you can respond. So that was an example of how not to do it. You'll notice I activated my first special here while X23 had 1 bar of power. After I replicated this buff, she recovered and used her special, and I did not have time to counter before my buff expired. Now, check out how to do it properly.
Fire!
Alright, so here you saw a proper way to use Rogue's first special against an opponent who has a little bit longer of a special attack. So I activated this first special and replicated X-23's regeneration when X-23 had less than 1 bar of power. This prevented her from countering with her own special and allowed me to keep my streak going and to maintain this regeneration buff for most of the fight and finish X-23 off pretty quickly. Finally, I want to point out that Rogue probably has the most trouble fighting against the Mystic class of champions, especially Mystics with Mystic Dispersion. First of all, as we all know, the interplay between Dexterity and Mystic Dispersion is going to fuel your opponent's power meter and make it difficult for you to maintain control of the fight. Also, any buff that she replicates, if she then loses that buff, that's going to feed Mystic Dispersion. I think Juggernaut in particular is the most difficult champion for Rogue to fight if you're trying to replicate buffs because of his Unstoppable. First of all, she can't replicate his Unstoppable, so she can't keep him from getting it. And secondly, if he has Unstoppable, she cannot continue to touch him and keep her timer going. And so I took my Rogue in against a 5-star Juggernaut to see how she'd do, and things did not end very well. So I'm going to close the video with this and let you see how badly this Juggernaut treated my Rogue. If you like this video, if it helps you out, please leave a thumbs up, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this is Grand Kahonu, smoking it down. We'll catch you later.